So with that being said, away we go. So I would like to welcome and congratulate the 16, 15 people that are on here, because this topic of tracking money is incredibly boring. And this is a downfall of most people, I'll say. I was having I took a hike today with a local pond guy who's now a new member of the group, and he's a shoebox guy. And a shoebox guy, as we all were at one time, we sorry about that. I got to put my phone on airplane mode. All right, so nobody bothers us. A shoebox guy is you get home, you put all your stuff in a shoebox, and if you're lucky, once a month, you might give it to somebody to try to make heads or tails out of, or even worse, you hand it to the genius of the world everything at the end of the year, and you're expecting them, the genius of the world, to figure out what the hell you've done. And if you don't know what you've done, how in the world can you have an accountant? So my attitude is, even if you're a shoebox guy, get your stuff together on a weekly basis. Just put them in a shoebox, and on every receipt, write down why you bought something, and then give it to your accountant or your bookkeeper or whoever you give this stuff to. Don't let it spiral out of control. So I'd like right in the box here, just chat it up. Just put me in there if you've ever let your finances get away from you. And when I mean get away from you, to the point where it was so far gone, you didn't even want to find this stuff out. All right? So, and it's most of us. At some point, it's most of us that just let stuff get away from us. And you don't want that to happen. Because if you don't track the money, like how I'm telling you here, in some fashion, you're really running a hobby, not a business. Does that make sense to you? Hit me up with a yes or no. I love it when you folks are alive out there, because it's important. Otherwise, I have no idea how you keep score with yourself. So this stuff is really good. So before I get into some super boring stuff, I'd like to just kind of explain my idea of money. It's very simple. Money only travels in two directions. People give it to you, and then you give it to other people, and that's it. And every time somebody gives you money, you have to tell QuickBooks or whatever accounting software you use, you have to tell QuickBooks where you got the money from, who gave it to you, and why. And that's very simple. For instance, I can, and because I'm running this meeting, I have a whole lot of stuff on my screen. So you have to bear with me so I can move around so I can see my own register here. So if you want to come up here and just make a deposit, people give you some money, all right? And I'm just going to go to my last deposit. All these people I put in this morning, this was the people, I was out of town. I was in Oklahoma. So over, to the pond convention out in Oklahoma. And all these people here, there's 30 people that sent me checks. These are all for cleaning, all right? And I just want to go through this quickly. I will not take money from anybody. And let me just kind of stop. If you have a phone ringing in the background, you need to mute yourself out. And then if you want to say something, just unmute yourself. So I don't want to have to mute everybody from my side, because I want you folks to ask questions, put something in a chat box, or whatever you want to do. But let me just kind of run through real quick in this first line here. This is a guy, Chai Ting. He sent me some money. Why'd he send it? Because I'm going to clean his pond. This is how I track it. This is from my account. I track classes. We'll talk about classes in a second. I put it under cleaning. And the man sent me $1,600. Pretty sweet for, a pond. So let me come down to the next guy, just because this whole thing is pond cleaning season, so there's not a hell of a lot of variance in here, with the simple exception of I had my first pond consultation yesterday, and you'll see right here, new construction. This guy over here, Ryan and Angela, they handed me a check, which is a deposit. If I don't, all this stuff, I know what it is up in here. It's all for cleaning. But they gave me a deposit on a new construction job in the amount of $7,000 over here. So you'll see all of them will say cleaning with this one exception. So the bottom line is this guy, Brian, gave me some money. I got to tell QuickBooks who gave it to me. Boom, that's who. Why they gave it to me. From QuickBooks standpoint, they always like to use accounts, okay? So you have to set up their pre-set up accounts to tell them why you got this money. If it's something weird, you come over here to the memo and write yourself a memo so you can keep track of stuff. I track classes, and I'm going to show you in a second how to turn that on, because I want to know at the end of the year, how did I do with spring cleaning? How did I do with new construction? And a few other classes we'll talk about. And how much money he gave me. It's that simple. So this is all just money in, and these are the people that gave it to me and why they gave it to me. And since we're all here for the same kind of thing, I'm just going to show you what happens 2, 3, 4, 5 years up the road when you start getting this prepaid thing in here. You see this big old number down in here? I went to Oklahoma and I came back, and now remember, 7 of it, boom, this is a big check that I sold a job on Sunday, but the rest of it, 6,000 worth, is all that prepaid stuff that people sent me. All right, so that's all this stuff you're looking at here, all this money over here, this is all that prepaid stuff that you heard me yakking about, whatever, 4 years ago. And when I would tell everybody, I can collect up to $100,000 by March the 1st without even doing anything. And I'll raise up my chat box, because I want you to put in the chat box, how many of you actually thought I was lying when I would say that? Okay, so let me go back and read a few of these chats, and if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, I'm going to shut up for a second right now and go ahead.
Steve,
Yes.
Steve, on the from accounts, the cleaning, and then you have the construction. Can you show how you set up those separate accounts?
You mean on the class or accounts?
I know how to set up the classes, but you have the received from, you have all your customer, yeah, those.
Okay, up in there. All right, so I'm going to show you both, because this is a way QuickBooks automatically has accounts set up. Now I add some new stuff. You can add a new account, but QuickBooks makes you do account for things, which is their default accounting. I look at a lot of this stuff, okay, but you'll find out in a second, I really care mostly about classes. So I actually check it and classify and account for things in a whole secondary way, which I hope will make perfect sense to you when I show you a couple of charts here. So let me just make sure I got everybody's questions. Okay, Aaron, Ned, need help, better classification. We're going to talk about in a second, David. You know how I felt. Okay, that's from Tim. All right, so let me just pull this down for a second. See if I can't. I got so many windows open. So let me open up. Okay, so you can see this. This is something it's a PowerPoint I prepared for, like in Oklahoma, just to show people. So I just want to show you what is powerful for me and why I do the classes, and then I'm going to show you how to open up classes. So these are the things over here, this whole side, all this stuff down in here, this is what's important to me. And the reason why it's important to me is because this is how I make my money, okay? I do spring cleaning, I do some consulting, I have a midsummer maintenance program, I have all my fall maintenance program, hardscaping, we build new ponds, I renovate ponds, we now have this new winter service checkup thing I'll tell you about, and then we run service calls. And then, yeah, I do half a dozen other things, whatever it might be, little things running around. But these are the basic ways that a pond guy makes money. Now you might add in there snow plowing, Christmas lights, you know, mow and blow, edging and mulching, landscape, you name it. You can figure this stuff out yourself. The beauty is by tracking all my classes, I can tell you last year spring cleaning, 313,000 bucks worth, and I can tell you all these numbers so you can see where I make my serious money. You know, you cannot scoff at a $500,000 here between these two, basically between fall and spring maintenance. I did 1.265 to 1.26 down here. So another beautiful thing about all this is based on reality, what I did last year, my guys and I sit down and we try to come up with some common sense goals for next year, for this year. And if I didn't track all this stuff, I wouldn't have a clue. So I'd like to do as a minimum this year 1.3. So we got a game plan to make 1.323. And ultimately, we know within a few years, we really want to be a $1.5 million company. So it's not too much of a stretch to try to get from 313 to 350 and then to 380. All that really means for us is I'm going to, you know how you get 25 new customers every year and then you lose 25 new customers a year? Well, the goal is to get to 25 and maybe only lose 5. That's how you can grow each individual business. So I run each service, okay, which is a classification for me. I run it like it's its own business. And you can see, you know, the numbers are, you know, they don't simply lie. So before I'm going to show you how to set up classes right now. And then do we have any questions about classes? You can just unmute yourself, say your name and your question.
This is Gina. My question is, why are you using a class instead of as an income account?
Why am I using a class as an income account? Because
why are you using classes instead of an income account?
I don't know. This is how my brain works. 13 years ago, 14 years ago, when I checked with my accountant, actually 15 years ago when I started this company, I was like, okay, I don't know anything. I didn't even know how to email hardly or anything. So I was like, what do I use? And they said, well, go to use QuickBooks Pro because then you can just send us stuff at the end of the year. So I don't know. They said, you know, you can track stuff after a couple of years. I said, QuickBooks is not telling me what I need to know. And they said, well, why don't you set it up in classes? So that's what I did, and it makes like beautiful sense to me. So
okay,
I don't have a great answer.
Do you put expenses in those classes as well?
Well, let me tell you what I can do, what I do. Okay, let me move a few things around. If I go to reports and I come down here to company financial and I want to do a profit and loss, my class, this is going to tell me how much money I am or am not making. Okay. And just for the fun of it, I mean, this year just started, so let me just go to last year. So we're going to come down here and go to last fiscal year. So now what I can do is, because I track stuff by class, because this is a thing, and the reason I do is, suppose I did do Christmas lights or snow plowing, I would track it, and at the end of the year, all these things over here, let me get my little pen so I can make sure I write this stuff down. This is at 313, because I track all my income. That's the money coming in. My gross profit after payroll and everything is $232,000. And then I had some, let me come all the way down to the bottom. And you'll see my bottom number to all that stuff is $191,000. I made almost $200,000 off of $313,000 worth of stuff. And that even included, I threw in there a big some number for my early buy that I bought in the spring. So let's just say that I wasn't making this much money, or I did snow plowing and I wasn't making a lot of money. At the end of the year, me and my guys go, okay, what kind of work did we do? How fun was it? Did we enjoy it? And what kind of money did we make at it? And then if we didn't like it and it didn't make a lot of money, we simply wouldn't do it. So we'll go through all these bottom lines, and Gina, this is, like I said, I preface this whole thing by you may laugh at how I do stuff, but this is how my brain works, so I can figure out what I should and shouldn't be doing as a business. And if we come over here, I'll just pick another class. I do a lot of remodel work. So let me come up here to remodel work over in this area here. We did 401,000, and as long as, again, I'm getting money in from remodel work. See right here, I had to give somebody some money back for some reason. All right, I made 245,000 bucks off of it. If I scroll down to the bottom, my bottom line I made $240,000 off of the remodel side. See, a lot of landscapers refuse to do remodel. I'm not going to go tear out something. We just want to create. Well, we made almost $250,000, and my guys love to remodel. In fact, that's kind of our specialty. So I hope that answers your question, Gina, that this is how I track things in a broad sense so I can figure out what parts of my business I should continue to do. Does that make sense?
I'm following it. I think it's very complicated, but I'm following it.
Okay, is this very complicated to the rest of you?
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
This is Net.
Hi, Net.
Hi. So I didn't use classes until last year when you talked to us about them. And what it has done for me, and maybe this will help Gina to understand, what it has done for me is I still expense things out, but if I use the classes, then I can see, like we just set up for a home show, I can see every expense from that show, that show cost me, even though all the expenses are in other categories like supplies or plants or whatever it is. I can still see exactly what that home show cost me, but everything's still expensed. Does that make sense?
So there are, and I'll just use Gina here, because Gina, I want all this to be real. And this may be confusing to you because I am not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper, and I know almost next to nothing about it. But through the early on guidance of my accountant, this is a way I can track everything. So you can ask me a question, I hope, like, how much did you make on the Bob Smith job back in 2011? I can go back, click a number, tell you to the penny how much money we made. So I just know that no matter who gives me money or no matter who I pay money to, I tell QuickBooks about it. And in a way that QuickBooks understands it, so I could go find it. But it might not be the way you would do it. Does that make sense? I mean, and the way you're doing it, Gina, is probably the right way.
Well?
What's that?
So are you doing jobs as well?
Do I do jobs as well?
So you're using, when you fill out an item, you're using class and job then?
Yes, right. I'll come up here and I can go company financial, and I come and I break everything down by jobs. Okay, so, and again, I haven't done a single job this year, so I'll have to go back to last fiscal year. And so let me just spin over. I'm just going to go find a random job that's not a cleaning job. So I can come in here and I can go, okay, here's the Fortes. I don't remember what I did, but the Fortes, they gave me 5,000 bucks here last year. Okay. And I did this job and we made $4,000 on that job. So every time I get money in, I will go over here and I will tell, even little jobs. This was probably some kind of drain and clean right here. The Hickeys. We probably drain and clean, and I could open it up and probably it would tell me exactly what we did to them. But, come down to the bottom line and, so this number and this number are exactly the same number. So I didn't have any expenses for whatever reason. So that means we just drained and cleaned their pond. And I don't track. I do not track drain and cleans. I track it as a class, not individually. But if I come up here and hit, you know, trying to come up and hit a simple job, Levin, these are people, we did a bunch of stuff. We added a filter, did a bunch of stuff. And so you can see in here, these are all the ways, you know, we cleaned it here, got a deposit on a fall cleaning. We did a filter install, a deposit on other cleaning, and then we did a little remodel job. And all that added up to $7,715. And then if I come back to the bottom line and come all the way to the bottom line, I made $7,000 on that. Okay, so I only spent like $700 to do the stuff I had to do for him. So yes, everybody that I do work for, a job for, I track. So that's how I can figure this stuff out. But like I said, when it comes to just drain and cleaning, I don't make the guys. I don't go, we spent 4 hours cleaning this guy's pond. I look at the whole clean season as one job kind of thing. I expended 2.5 months of energy and this much money into it. If I buy anything for spring cleaning, I track it in that amount. But when it comes to jobs, I track every job that we do. So we can come out here and hit, you know, here's Teresa Myers. We did a patio and something else for them, $14,000. Gross was 9,200. We made 91.59 on it. So yes. So you asked a great question, Gina, about a month ago. If you get a bunch of checks, okay, can I tell you who in the heck each check was from? And the answer should be yes. So there's a long-winded answer. Yes, I do track. Yeah, I'm recording this so far. Yes, I am, Aaron. So I have to find out how much information I release if I want this to go out there. I don't care about my company stuff, but sometimes I go crazy with the personal stuff if that's where the discussion leads. So let me take a second to show you how to turn on the classes. If you don't use classes, does everybody here use classes? Just hit me up with a yes or no in the chat box here. So in case you're interested, and I'll back up and answer a few questions that I don't have right now, you're going to go up here to the edit file. You're going to hit the edit, open it up. You're going to go down to preferences at the very bottom. Click on preferences. Then you're going to go up here. There's an accounting file over here. Then you're going to come to company preferences. Boom. And then right here, right in there, it says use class tracking. Right here, you click this thing on. Make sure you use it. And what that does for you, and then hit OK, that will make you see over here, this tracking up in here, it will make you fill out a class. And then it'll blow up a window on you if you don't add it in there. It'll say, hey, you're about to hit enter without putting in a class. Would you like to do that? So this is how I do it, and this is what makes sense to me. So that's how I track classes in there. And that's exactly how I come up with this information, because I track it. I know exactly what's what. And the compilation of this whole thing, I don't know if I just killed all my classes. Reports. I want to find out how I did classes. Go back to last fiscal year. Last fiscal year. Scroll all the way over to the right-hand side, and this will tell me the real deal. So you'll see over here, 1.26, which was, you know, how we did for the year. Our goal was 1.1. The gross on that was 667. Okay, so let me come down to the bottom. And after even entering in $100,000 of early buy that I bought, my bottom line last year in my pocket was $461,000 from that. And I don't I don't get money in. I don't spend a penny without telling QuickBooks what the hell I'm doing. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I'd like to hear from you if you have any specific questions. And then I know Roy wants to know about payroll, but before I get into payroll, I want to spend a little time or whatever time you need about this stuff. So does this all make sense to everybody? Or am I just confusing the shit out of you? So 2 people say yes. So I guess I'm confusing the rest of you, right?
I have a question. This is Nicole.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So you go to edit and then preferences and company preferences?
Yes. So yes, that's exactly right. So I'll just type it right in here. So you go to edit, and I got to figure out how to do this. Preferences. Then you go to accounting. Then you go to company preferences. Then you go click the little thing, class. You enable classes. So there it is. Edit, preference. So screenshot this or do whatever you got to do. Account, company preferences, and class. And I'll ask you a question, Gina. Maybe I'm missing the boat here on something, but QuickBooks designed classes for a reason, and the reason was so we can do what I'm doing here. So, although it may be confusing to you, I am on the right track. Is this correct or not?
I mean, that's not the only reason. There's different, depending on your different companies, you might use class. Like, say you have one company, but underneath that company you have like different locations or different stores.
Right.
You would use those classes for those different stores.
Right.
And I've seen it used more that way than what you're using them for accounts basically. But what you're kind of saying, and maybe this will help people understand it, is he's specifically taking an account, like say like consulting, and he's treating it like its own business. And so he's wanting to know, my consulting business is bringing me what? My pond cleaning business is bringing me what? And my construction business is bringing me what? So maybe if you look at the classes as like its own little separate business entity inside a big business, that might help you guys understand it better.
And that's exactly what I just said. I mean, in my head, Gina, that's what I just said, but it may not have come like that. And you're 100% right. I look at each one of these things as a separate entity. And this is how we fight. One of our problems is we like to, as a group, and you guys tell me if this is right or wrong, okay? We like to go clean a pond. And then, oh, shit, somebody called. I got to go build because that's where the money is. And then, oh, Mrs. Jones called. Let me go back to clean. Wait, let me run out for a consultation. Hold on. I got a renovation to do. Let's offload the truck and go back and, right? Is this how we've been running our business? Yes or no? Hit a yes or no. Who ran a business like this in the past? Am I missing something in the chat box? Yes. So we clearly focus on, and when I first started, Gina, it wasn't all about this kind of in-depth stuff. I just told people, you know what? From March 1st to mid-May, I ain't doing nothing but cleaning because I can get so good at it, so efficient at it, period, and make a killing. I can go out and make 68% with my cleaning because I never forget anything on the truck because it's there from the day before. Because the stuff you do in cleaning is way different than renovations, which is different than hardscaping, which is different than other stuff. So I just stay organized. And our yearly calendar is, we clean, we build, we maintenance, we build, we clean again, boom. And the same, and all these things are little battles, little companies that I run to make one big company to come up with numbers like this. And that's how my little pea brain works. So take it for what it's worth. So but you're exactly right. Does any of that make sense to people out there? You think I'm crazy, David, Mr. Lee? Or it's crazy that this is how we all used to run our businesses, like that, running around like a chicken with our head cut off. Okay, so you don't think I'm crazy. You're the only one. Okay, so I'm done with that. So what I'd like to chat about now, or if we're all good, do I need something else? Or before I get into exactly how I do payroll? Because I use and I love Intuit Payroll. So I want to show you quickly how it's done. And then I'm actually going to make payroll. I only got 2 guys to pay right now. So I'm going to make payroll right in front of you. Is that good? Okay, I'm assuming it is. If it's not, then, you know. So I used to, up until, I don't know, 2012. So up until 2011, I just paid everybody 1099, which is illegal, kind of, sort of, definitely, whatever. So in the state of Maryland, and these states want money, so you got to all of a sudden go, to W-4. You got to have a real employee, so you pay, state employment tax and Social Security, all this stuff. So I went legit. So I started with ADP or somebody like that, and it was a freaking nightmare because it would not integrate. If I paid Mike and Andrew, to build Mrs. Smith's pond, I couldn't figure out, and they couldn't either, how to get it over to QuickBooks. So I switched to QuickBooks. So I use QuickBooks Payroll, and for me, it works awesome. So I'm going to show you how simple that is. If I can, I'm going to try something fancy here. I don't know if I can get it to work. So I have payroll. So many of these things, Andrew. I got to figure out because I have my guys. They just simply, let me get this bigger for a second so I can see what you don't see. I got these open box screens all over my computer, so I have to figure out. Okay, so now I can probably do it like this. There we go. So I have my guys, they'll either text me or they'll send me an email with the hours. So here's Kyle Butts and Sean Catroni, the only 2 guys I got on payroll. And Kyle worked last week, he worked 4 hours for Premier Ponds. He worked 23 hours for you guys, Contractor Sales Academy. So he worked a total of 27 hours. Sean, he worked 3 hours with CSA because I pay him to listen to the webinar and I pay him to role play. He went and did a job at a guy's house for 4 hours, and then he did marketing. He sat home and, SEO stuff. So I'll show you exactly how I pay those guys. So I'll come up to employees. I'm over here on this site now. Let me throw up a chat box real quick. If you guys have something, you can just unmute and get in there or whatever. Any preferences to desktop or online QuickBooks? Yes, David, Mr. Lee. I understand online is giving people fits. So I've only used desktop, and I love it. And I've never had an issue with it. So that's all good with me. I'd like to switch. That'd be awesome. I could be anywhere and pay people, but, I'm afraid, to be honest with you. So anyway, so
I also, this is a quick side, I also believe QuickBooks Online does not do classes.
Okay, so there's another reason. I would die without classes. So that's just how my brain is wired. So I'm coming to employees. Okay, I'm going to go down here to pay employees. This is going to be a scheduled payroll. Now, obviously, you have to call up QuickBooks, tell them you want to do. I do what's called assisted payroll. And what that means is I put the hours in and press a button, but they pay all the taxes. I don't do anything. They send out the quarterly stuff to the states and the government. They send out the yearly stuff to the employees. They do everything. All I do is what you're about to see me do. So I have to, I got to move something over here. I'm going to start with the scheduled payroll here. I just click the button. I only have 2 employees. Now remember, Mike and Andrew, they're partners now. I don't pay them as, employees anymore. They get member distributions out of profits. So they're a whole different thing. So I'll just open up Kyle Butts right here. It's already pre-filled in for me. I pay him $20 an hour. It's all up there already. I have to come over to Kyle's little doohickey here, and I see, okay, I got to pay him 23 hours for CSA and 4 hours for Premier Ponds. So 23 hours, tab over here. I have a customer called Contractor Sales Academy. So I track how much money I have to pay because of Contractor Sales Academy. And then I'll have Gina cut me actually a check back to reimburse Premier Ponds for all the money out of pocket. So this is how I track it, okay? And all his stuff, okay, is I just label him under marketing because that's mostly what he's doing, okay? Then I also have to pay him hourly. It's already pre-filled in. And I think looking over here, because I forgot already, he's got 4 hours Premier Ponds. I put over here and put 4. Dash. There's nothing to fill in, no customer. And all he does stuff for me is marketing. So I just check it, 27 hours, $540. I just hit save and next, which is automatically going to throw the next guy up, Sean Catroni. So I'll come back. Let me move this over and read Sean's stuff. Yeah. Sean has 3 for CSA. And again, I have to tell it. Again, I have to tell QuickBooks what I'm spending the money for, okay? And in Sean's case, he works for me. I pay him under a thing called training because that's really what he's doing. He's learning how to do the Shin Fu and how to practice with all you guys. And then I got another hourly. He comes up in here. He's got 4 hours, okay, with a guy named Doug Clark, who I don't even think's in here yet. There he is. He's in here, okay? And we replaced 2 skimmers for Doug. So that, to me, is going to be a service call. He went out there, and actually, you know what that is? Sean's sole purpose out there was to film it. This guy had 2 skimmers. We put 2 new, the old stuff, the square ones. We put the signature series in. And Sean's sole goal out there for 4 hours was to film it so we could put in a YouTube video up on our thing. Is if you got an old skimmer or want a kick-ass new skimmer, this is how you do it. So he's going to be marketing because he's actually just producing a video blog for us about that. Then he has one more thing. He's got another hourly where he spends 15 hours doing nothing but marketing for me, all that SEO stuff. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, it's more appropriate because he actually did a bunch of stuff on my website, which I track separately than marketing. That's just how I track it in my classes. So he gave me a total of 22 hours at $660 for him. Save and close. So let me get rid of that, make this bigger so we can all see. So that's it. So all I got to hit is I just make sure I'm not paying somebody 127 hours. That's all I do. I hit continue. I tell it to create paychecks. I tell it to send it to Intuit. I send it all up in here. You see what they do. I'm about to $1,200 for the paycheck. And I say send it all. And then y'all look the other way while I put my password in. I just hit OK. Because I got a problem signing on to the payroll service, which I've never had before, but what the hell, why not right in front of everybody? It could have been that I put in the wrong password. I guess I'll find out. Oh, there we go. I apparently hit a wrong number. Y'all make me nervous. So then it's just sending on to payroll. Everything was good. Boom. It's going to validate stuff, and it's going to update it, and it's ultimately going to say everything's great. So we're cool. And that was payroll. Any questions on payroll? And it's that simple. And I could come up here.
Steve,
Yeah, go ahead.
John, are they all direct deposit, or if you get a check, how long does it take to come back?
It's all direct deposit. I have it all set up, and I just put up the detail of the one we just paid Kyle Butts, okay? And so I don't do a thing. It's all just put in there, and all this stuff. Hang on, let me get a. I gotta grab something. Hang on, I gotta get my pen. I got these boxes everywhere. Okay, so all this stuff in here, all that garbage that I would hate to do, boom, all that stuff, it's all done for me. And they sent to the right people, so I don't have to do anything. So
What about workman's comp?
workman's
It's
comp,
separate?
I pay an annual workman's comp on them, and that gets audited once a year. I can't, they do workman's comp. I have chosen just not to do it that way. I use Erie Insurance, and every renewal date, they say, hey, Steve, you owe us $15,000 based on last year's payroll, and I send them a check. So I prepay it. And the reason I did that is because I always like to dump money. It's always due, mid-November, and I always like to dump as much money as I can for payroll purposes, if that makes sense. So, but you can do it by paycheck. They'll add the exact amount. So I get audited every year, and of course I either get money back or I pay money, which I always pay money, for workman's comp. But they'll do it exactly right in here, so you'll never owe any more money than that. So that's how the payroll thing is, and that's set up, and that's called assisted payroll with QuickBooks. Any more questions? And about the fees are nothing. I guess this somewhere I can find the fee for the whole year, and I'm paying like next to it's not worth it to me to have to do this stuff. And the best part about it is I can track all this stuff. Like I can go right now, close this out. If I go to reports, I go to report company financial. I go by job. And let me come all the way over to Contractor Sales Academy. You see right in here? Boom. Right now, I can open this up, and I know Contractor Sales Academy is in the hole of Premier Ponds by $5,000. Okay? And then if I open that up, it'll tell me all the ways I paid them, and these are all the different transactions I've made because of them. And all these little piddly ones all down this aisle here, all that 27, that's all BS taxes and stuff that they have paid all along the way that I don't get bothered with. And I don't even care. So, and it's cheap. And when I first did it, I found out how much they charge, and it wasn't any more than all the other people. But it integrates beautifully right into QuickBooks. So that way, when I tell Tom to have Gina to cut me a check to repay Premier Ponds, I know exactly what I need to get whole. Make sense to everybody? So Tim says that desktop was about $380 a year for 8 employees. Is that for payroll, Tim?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know what your attitude with $380 a year for 8 people, but geez, that's nothing to me. Just because the headache, I just don't want a headache. There's certain things that I can't deal with and I can't do, and taxes and payroll and all that other, some of this minutia. I would pay triple that, 10 times that. So
Can I ask Tim, does that include them paying your taxes for you?
No.
what was the question?
I asked
No.
if that 388, if it included them paying the payroll taxes, and I didn't think so.
Oh, no. Yeah, that can't be the payroll taxes.
No. What happens is the way Intuit works is there are different payroll packages, and you pay an annual fee or can pay an annual fee based on certain criterias. So I'm guessing, if I understood Tim correctly, is that he's paying about $388 a year to have payroll, but that price does not include them paying Intuit doing the taxes for you. Correct, Tim?
Yes, correct. I do believe that was just the basic payroll. So all it did was allow me to write checks, and it would get the updated tax tables weekly or monthly whenever the updates came out. I still had to figure out anything quarterly or pay my own Illinois taxes monthly.
So with mine,
Steve, do you know what you have?
say that again.
Do you know which version of payroll you have?
If I looked up help about QuickBooks Pro, not QuickBooks Pro, well, it's just called it's called assisted payroll because they assist you in doing all the minutia that I hate to do. So
If you go under employees,
okay,
my payroll service,
which one?
the first one. It should say QuickBooks Payroll Account Maintenance.
Oh, you see, the actual service is right here. This is what this is the only words I've ever heard them say is the payroll service that they say I get is Intuit QuickBooks Assisted Payroll. That's how I know that name because they okay, but that may be a generic name, but when I talk to them about what I wanted to do, I call them up and I tell them this is what I'm willing to do, and I want you to do everything else. And then they tell me what exactly I need to sign up for, which is exactly what I did. And they've always told me it's QuickBooks Assisted Payroll, so which is what it's called here.
Do you pay a monthly fee then for it?
Yeah, I pay a monthly fee per transaction, and then I pay, and I found it the last time. I don't ever look at that anymore, so I don't really know exactly. You could find out what I paid for the whole year last year for all the charges because they're all miscellaneous charges. But I pay a monthly fee. I think I do. It's a monthly or
It should
flat
be in your
annual
class.
fee. It's
It's
where?
under your class. Shouldn't it be under your class? Of what I don't know what you call it. Your what you call your business class. I don't know what that is. If you do a P&L by class, there's you have a section that's like for all your business stuff.
P&L by class. I don't think it's going to be in there because I've never seen there it all is right there. I've never.
Under overhead, I'm guessing it should be one of those expenses.
Okay, that's all right. Payroll expenses. This whole line in here,
There you go.
and I followed all the way over. Oh, this is probably year to date, so that's going to be so year to date. I've paid, whatever payroll expenses I've paid. Let me open it up. Okay, there you go. I've paid $300 so far to date to have them deal with it. And it's right here. It says fees for all this stuff. So there you go. And then if I, just for the fun of it, since you're here, let me just go up and see what I paid the whole year. Last fiscal year. Now let me go over here and look all that up. Expenses. Payroll expenses is right here. Let me get all the way to the end. It looks like I paid, I'm trying to follow across. Well, I could promise you I didn't pay $51,000 for payroll expense. Let me open it up. So this is all the stuff that they charged me for. So Gina, if I got this right, somewhere there's going to be a whopping charge somewhere. Yeah, I don't know what that 2,000 is. Oh, okay. Here's the difference. All these big lumps you're seeing, these are bonuses I paid to people. I gave Andrew $5,000, $1,000 to Logan for the Profit Summit. He did such a good. Mike, a $10,000 bonus. Logan, a $10,000 bonus. All these big numbers, and I don't know why it ended up like that. So it's getting mixed in somewhere. But all those big numbers, these are bonuses I handed to people. So that's why it comes up to 51,000. But if I took all that stuff out, I bet that's closer to $5,000 worth of cost, if that. Does that make sense? So maybe not perfect. Any other questions?
Just if you're, you just gotta, like, if you double clicked on one of those, you just have to fix your class and job.
Probably, but that ain't worth it to me. I mean, you know. So let me see. Is insurance going to overhead and not to any specific job, Steve? Yes, it goes to overhead. I just throw it in there. Matt Boring, if you didn't have direct deposit, is there a way? Yes, you can print checks. Absolutely. You tell it what you want to do. And when I hit that button that said send to Intuit, that means I'm electronically sending it to them, so it's done. But you can print it out. Absolutely. Tim says basic payroll service. I don't really know what that means, Matt. Maybe that's how you do that. How do you filter out the expenses that are not taxed? Give me a for instance, Chris Tallarico. If oh, all right, yeah, Jack. Insurance is overhead expense to me, not to the job. I pay 15 grand a year for insurance, and it's a below the line cost to me. Bonuses get taxed. Yeah, when I shell out $10,000 and I go through payroll, unless I cut them a check, and then they got to figure it out themselves. But I go right through Intuit, and yeah, they get taxed on all their bonuses that they get out there. So
And just kind of a heads up too, if you are going to gift your employees, if it's anything like say a gift card and it's over $25, it's considered income, and that needs to get put on their W-2 as well. So don't think like, oh, I'm going to pay him, you know, like $50 or a $100 gift card and think that that's not okay. Technically, that has to be considered income as well and does get taxed.
yeah, so I don't do any of that gifting, kind of thing. I just give them cash, and I don't do, I took a walk with a guy in the woods today. Let's just pick on Mike Carrillo. I'll just open this up. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so here's a check I gave to Mike Carrillo last direct deposit. Let's get the payroll details. Let me move my screens out of the way. See, I gave him right here, if you see this thing up in here, I gave him a sales commission of $10,000. Mike sold what? Just under $250,000. So he was given commissions of $25,000 last year. So I gave him one lump sum, $10,000, in addition to all his other hours that he worked. So he had a whopping paycheck of $11,500 that time. Okay. And then boom, here's all the taxes that he had to pay. And I think, federal, so I think he made $6,300 from 11.5. So they paid all this stuff for him. So I don't play any games with that kind of stuff. I just pay the guys. I mean, the guy I walked in the woods today with, he's paying cash to his guys. And when he does snow plowing and they get into overtime, he pays cash. I'm like, I said, you're really running a hobby. You're not running a business, because if you pay someone cash, you don't get to write it off. And so now you're paying taxes. If you bring income in and you don't have expenses against it, you're screwing yourself. You're being a nice guy, but you're screwing yourself. So I run,
Yep.
yeah, no, well, you are. I mean, it's like the person, and this will resonate with some of you out there, and they'll come because my wife is a loan officer. And you know, when you want to borrow money, it's based on your tax returns. And they go, yeah, but let me tell you what I do under the table. And I'm like, you don't get to screw Uncle Sam on one side of the ledger and then get a good mortgage rate on the other side. Because now all that makes you is a liar and a thief. So you just can't play that game, you know? You pay them a lot of money, they pay their fair share in taxes, we do the same, and that's just the way the game is played. So that makes sense to everybody?
Steve, how are you handling with Mike and Andrew now that they're owners? How does that work? They just
So
take a draw, or
yeah, no, I pay them. There's a technical term, and I don't want to get into all this stuff because it's crazy, but I actually pay when I pay them. It's called guaranteed payment because we have an agreement that they make X amount of money, like I make X amount of money. So I pay them. I don't pay tax on them. It's up to them to pay quarterly taxes. So I'm paying them out in two ways. One is a guaranteed payment, and that's how I pay myself for my own personal salary from the company. It's not really like a regular salary. It's just like when we get money in, we start paying out, and then every so often when we have a bunch of money built up in the account, like right now, you see we have 128,000 bucks sitting in our checking account. If because they own 30%, then I'll just cut up. If I want to spend 100 grand, I'll pay myself 40 and them 30 each because that's what percentage they do. And then I'll pay that out under something else that's called member distribution, which is under an account, that'll be under your account list up here. So they get paid out two different ways. One is called a guaranteed payment. That's an accounting jargon. The other one's called member distribution, which is sharing the profits of the company. Both of which they have to fess up to Uncle Sam every quarter and pay their fair share of all kinds of taxes on that. And that's one of these things that a nuance that I run. I'm tight with my accountant. I've had this 40-year relationship. He was the captain of my swim team when I was a freshman diving at University of Maryland, and I've been with him almost the whole time. So we probably talk at least once a month, just about what's going on, what am I doing, am I screwing up, am I going the right direction? We have short, intermediate, and long-term goals. And this whole buyout I did, oh my God, I started talking to him about this buyout 5 years ago. So when we finally got to sit down at the table, the money's coming to me are accounted in a very specific way. In my case, I got it all as capital gains. All these are accounting nuances, but it's very important that it's done just right. So when you send it all to Uncle Sam on your taxes, he agrees with you. Because if he don't agree with you, you got a mess on your hands. Right, Gina?
That's right.
Okay. So here's a nutty thing that I'll say, and I think we're about done. Unless somebody else has questions, I'm happy to hang as long as you want to hang. Okay, but when it comes to paying taxes, I say pay them. In fact, I love to pay them. I love it if I have to pay a $500,000 in taxes. What does that mean? That means I made over $1 million. So although it doesn't feel good paying out a $500,000 in taxes, it sure as hell feels great to know that you can make $1 million. So when someone tells me, Jesus Christ, I just paid 50 grand in taxes, I'm like, dude, that's awesome. You just made 100 grand. What's your alternative? You're paying 10,000 bucks in taxes. That means, what are you making, 30 grand? I'd rather have my problems than their problems. I know it doesn't sound like most people's thinking, but we live in a pretty good country that, and everybody on this call is take a student of learning the art of your business. We're not pond builders here. That is like, we don't even care. Carpet, landscape, I don't care what your business is. You need to be a student of your business and hire the right people. This is why Tom has Gina. because Tom knows where he needs somebody. And you guys are learning. You get to decide how much money you're going to make. You really do. Like, you know, it was said the speaker, drawing a blank on the name, but at Pondominium, he said, you can get anything you want. You just got to go get it. But sometimes we all get bunched up with some of this minutia, like paying taxes and stuff like that. So my ending comment with this whole QuickBooks thing is people give you money. Tell QuickBooks who and how and why. And then when you give people money, you have to tell QuickBooks the same thing. And maybe you screw up an entry, but I can promise you, even if Gina doesn't agree with exactly my counting method, with a little GoToMeeting in an hour, we can make total sense of everything I got because I don't get or spend a penny without telling QuickBooks in a very consistent way. So if I miscategorize something, with one click of a button, we can reclassify it. And trust me, every year from my accountant, boom, I get a list of 30 things I got to reclassify because in my head, I spent it to do one thing, and in their head, it's legally something else. And I don't mean to confuse the situation, but that's about it. Okay? So I think we're done. Does anybody have any final thoughts for me? Put in the chat box or unmute yourself. All right, I think we're done. 19 of you hung in there. I appreciate that. And we will talk to you later. And Gina, thank you specifically for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, bye-bye.